Hi. So, I hope this message finds you in a place of peace, or at the very least, I hope that it can reconnect you with the own peace within your spirit. Um, there's someone who is collective energy. This is Empress energy that came out with the Six of Swords, but I'm seeing that there's a lot of reflection that's been happening and within you, and it resembles inner turmoil, because I have several decks that okay. So I have this. This is the Six of Swords, the Seven of Wands, the Five of Swords. Okay, it's hard to read it when I'm not looking at it though. Okay. So what I was seeing, Kara, was that there was someone that went through a lot of abuse, and there's been a lot of regret about not speaking up for yourself. I think that you've been reflecting a lot, or what it's showing on the cards is I see a lot of reflection, and it's about a past series of events that I was going to say we're definitely not in your favor. However, as that thought entered my mind, then so did, it was immediately followed by that things happen for you and not to you. So that whole rejection is your protection. This wasn't just rejection. There were a series of events that took place, and a lot of it had to do with an abusive relationship, abuse coming from someone else. So, trigger warning. Just remember that if you should be triggered by something, to not beat yourself up or overindulge in it, but instead look at it from the outside, kind of looking in point of view, as if you were an outsider looking at your situation, at that trigger. See it for what it is and detach yourself from it so that you no longer identify with it, because this is something that you've survived already. I feel the need to say that because if someone should be triggered, and from the events that I'm seeing that took place, it is most likely a very triggering. This is something that will take time to heal from, and that's perfectly okay. I always like to try to make myself aware of my triggers by reminding myself that they cannot harm me beyond what I put myself through again, that I've already survived from, if that makes sense. So the idea is to see it, to recognize it, so that you don't go into this loop of reliving it as if you haven't already survived. So I try to look at triggers as a gift, because immediately you see what is needing to heal, and just bringing that awareness into it oftentimes is enough, you know. But you went through, you did walk away from this eventually, whatever. I mean, it felt like, metaphorically, like it felt like a beating, like you took a beating from the world or from the people that inflicted this on you. But I do feel that there was one main person, but it wound up being, like I heard, like a series of failures, a series or seeming failures, a series of events consecutively that took place. And it was just like being knocked down again and again and again. Every time you would scramble to get up, then something else. But this was something that was birthed from an individual who did have it out for you. Now, I think with the Empress and the Six of Swords, like there's a lot of, with the Empress energy, and I also often I get High Priestess energy. I've noticed with certain decks whenever I get the Empress card, but it's like that, like, it's like a disappointment. There's within, like this is a deep, almost guilt, like you're blaming yourself for something that someone else did. And this is probably just because you were very unaware of it, but you, at the time, but when you're looking back at just the way that you handled a series of events, and while you were blind to it, but I feel that you were blind and still knew a lot. Now here's the Nine of Swords right directly behind that. The Six of Swords was on the bottom of the deck, so I have the deck faced up. Just a second. Why? I don't know why this deck is. Okay, yeah. I'm looking at it, but yeah, with the Nine of Swords, again, it's like there's a lot of overthinking. You're thinking about just how unaware you were, how trapped you were, like within yourself. But what I'm getting that concerns me is, yeah, with the Knight of Swords in reverse, like you do feel like you were really young, and like this was in reverse. You feel like you just didn't take action, that you were equipped to have done more. Something must have spilled on these cards, and I really like them because it stuck together and it's a little damaged. And I don't know what could have spilled on it, unless I don't know. Anyway, tea I'm thinking, but I just don't know. Or maybe I cleaned that table and I put the cards down and didn't realize the table was still wet. That's very possible. I could see myself doing that. Anyway, so you see, yeah, my concern is with it almost resembles like a self-loathing. And as an Empress, you don't, but it's just because you have the knowledge that you have now, and you're looking at it as, if I knew then what I know now, right? But you also, it's like that being your own biggest critic, like you do feel like you were equipped enough to have known, but what it was, and yeah, what I'm sure that it was, is that you were second guessing yourself quite a bit, which, we all do until we don't anymore. And there's just so much, like, it resembles regret. It resembles expecting, like, way too much of yourself, because we're here to learn lessons. We're not here to know everything, especially on our own journey. If you're on that journey and that is specific to you and the lessons that you need to know, then you can't just walk into it knowing everything. And it's going to take learning. But I think because oftentimes, I mean, with collective energy, there's an intuition that many of us have had since childhood. And so what I gather from this is that you recognize now that the awareness that you had was always right, but you did so much second guessing and not, just not really trusting yourself and trusting your instincts. So even though you didn't know better at the time, you're able to look back and reflect to see how much you could have saved yourself from, even though it wasn't your fault and you were blinded to a lot of things because you could not have anticipated or expected people to just be so monstrous in the way that they were. Because I'm getting, I mean, this was just ridiculous, like beyond just lies and deceit. This was like people like setting you up, people like not only setting you up for failure and slandering, but like going out of their way to destroy you in the worst way, in many ways, like in every area that a person can succeed in life. So this was like huge setups that were happening. And so you're aware that, I mean, nobody thinks about an individual, especially one that's close to you, because this had to be someone that was close to you in order to have the access that it would have taken for them to be so diabolical and just there's a lot of planning and precision that went, and just a lot of effort that went into your own demise. And so you're not blaming yourself for the actions of another person that you could not possibly have seen coming, because nobody really thinks of people doing things like that until they find that, wow, this is really real and this is really happening. You're not beating yourself up in that way, but you are in the way that although you didn't know what was happening, you feel that your intuition was screaming things at you that you didn't want to see because it seemed crazy. So there were things that you were shown that you second guessed or like just kind of put on the back burner because you didn't act on it because you just didn't have the proof, and you didn't know yourself well enough at the time to trust what it was that you were being shown. So now with the knowledge that you have and what you've awakened to, you're able to see all the ways that without having all the information, you could have still protected yourself from a series of events that happened had you really not only listened to your intuition, but your own self-love, because you sacrificed yourself many times. But the thing is, you wouldn't be here if you didn't, exercise that self-love and stand up for yourself and start listening to those messages and your own intuition. Because this was set to really destroy you. Yeah, and again with this, I opened the box and just these two fell out, so I didn't even take the deck out to shuffle, but I took these two. And it's the Seven of Swords in reverse and the Queen of Hazards. And when I looked at this card, the Queen of Hazards, I heard the song, I'm a hazard to myself. I don't know the words. I'm my own worst enemy. Don't want to be, I don't want to be somebody else. Anyway, So I saw that when I saw that, I said, again, this was you in a distorted energy. This is you as the Empress is looking back at you in a distorted energy and thinking about, you feel, isn't that like a collective energy to take responsibility even when you are not at fault? I mean, you do feel responsible, and it is great to take responsibility for the part that you played in things, which is for you just not trusting yourself. But you are beating yourself up here, and so that's the big concern. So that's, I'm sure that that's what this message is really trying to bring awareness to, is that loop in your mind, to be aware of that self-loathing that can creep in. And really just all it takes is like acknowledging it, and that this is not your energy, and that the series of events that took place is what woke you up to who you are and what you're capable of. And without these things happening, and it's things that are so bad that it's like you may have avoided all of that, but you wouldn't have grown to be the person that you are, to really know yourself. A lot of times, how do you really know what you're made of if you're not faced, with adversity and overcoming it? You just can't know really what you're made of. So yeah, you may have avoided all of these things, but these were things that were put on your journey specific to your soul for your own spiritual growth. Which means if you had done better or followed your intuition back then, you would not have had the awareness of what even people are capable of the spiritual world, of the 3D world, of your own spirit, of your own strengths. There are many things, I could go on and on, that you would not have the awareness of. You would have dodged a lot of bullets. But here's the thing, you dodged those bullets anyway. And they chiseled out away at the layers of you that needed to be shed, and you survived. So it's no point, there's nothing wrong with reflection, but the last thing that you should do is look at that old version of yourself and feel disappointed. You should look at that version of yourself and feel like even more love for yourself, that you could be so unaware and so not, and get to a place where you survive so much, and that you know yourself, like you have this groundedness now that you just wouldn't have had without getting through what you went through. So it's specific to your journey, and sometimes we can just expect ourselves to just be perfect and know everything, but it is to build your spirit that these things happen. So although they can be very triggering and painful to look at sometimes, you're not like that anymore. So it's not to say, oh, I wish I would have known not to do this. I wish I wouldn't have allowed this. I wish I would have stood up for myself, because all those wishes have come true. You are going to stand up for yourself. You're never going to go through those things in the way that you did then ever again. And if it hadn't happened, you wouldn't be better off, because you wouldn't have the structure that you have now. You wouldn't have the fierce spirit that you have now. So yeah, you would have been less scarred, but those scars can heal. And you have gone through a healing period. You have healed from these things. So I did get with this on the bottom of the deck, expansion. So in order for expansion, so with soothe in the reverse, that came in, wait, yeah, that was in the reverse. And then cleanse, wait, did I hope, yeah, cleanse was in the upright. And when I saw this card, I saw a shower, and I instantly saw that this is a spiritual cleanse that's needed. And repair was in the reverse. So I think you've been self-soothing with soothe in reverse, and Spirit is saying that it's not for you to, because all this reflection, but it's been getting you down in a down place because you're seeing so clearly things that you feel like you just didn't stand up for yourself, and you didn't have anyone standing up for you, but you did, because you had God and you had your guides. You had the divine standing up for you. But basically it's to say that you've been doing some kind of self-soothing, and that is not what's needed. And with me seeing a shower with the cleanse, and this is a flower, but I saw it like as a shower. I do feel that you do need a spiritual cleanse. Immediately when I saw that, that's what I saw, a shower, and I was like, oh, look at that, I saw a shower, and then I heard spiritual cleanse. And with the repair in reverse, again, it's like you don't need to repair anything. You are not broken. These things may be triggering because of how horror filled the experiences that you had were, but you have survived them already. So there is nothing to repair, and you're not needing to like go over it and over it in your head and self-soothe. For expansion at this point, expansion has already taken place. You are thriving. You have accomplished the mission that you were supposed to, at least for that chapter. But what is now, with them saying that what you're needing is a spiritual cleanse, I instantly know that this state of mind that you've been in, you know, this kind of down on yourself, kind of disappointed in your own actions in the past, you know, reflecting on everything that we just talked about, on how you could have done better and what you didn't do. All of that loop is not you. That loop is the enemy, and it is a trick to get you and your vibration down, right? Because remember, we always have these lower forces that are tugging at us, especially on this journey, that are tugging at us to keep us in a low vibration, because you need to be in that low vibration for a lot of the things being sent, you know, your way to be able, these entities, these low vibrational entities, for them to really be able to bond to you, you have to be in a lower vibration, and it just like kind of goes like a domino effect. So they will come at you, but they won't stick. And it could be just something as simple as, you know, bringing that awareness into it. So when you're in this state of mind, and then you get into a loop, you don't realize that loop is actually the enemy. And the danger there is when you think it's yourself, you keep going and you keep allowing yourself to like beat you. You're beating you up at this point, you know, just because you're looking at what you went through, and it is coming from a place of love, but it's misdirected because it's coming from you loving this version of yourself, and you being in a mature state now to know like that you feel like there was no one to take care of this version of yourself, and that you should have been able to take better care by following your intuition. But things unfolded the way that they were supposed to, and you did take care of yourself because you are here now as an empress, and you don't get to this position without doing damn well spiritually. Like, so it's so easy, like, because it's a feeling and it's thoughts, that the enemy can just slip in, and you think it's you, and you think, I'm making the choice to reflect, and then you don't even realize, like, you feel the feeling and something's dragging you down, but you're thinking of that hard time, and man, you know, I should have stood up for myself. I should have spoke up for myself. I should never have allowed them to treat me this way. I'm better than that. You know, I should never have given them the satisfaction, you know, to think that they, whatever, it's, this loop is not you. And the minute that you detach from that and say, hey, this is not my energy, I rebuke it, you just recognize it, and there's this hold, like, it has to come off. And they might keep trying to, like, send those attacks at you, but it's when you accept it as your own that it can take effect, and then it starts to weigh you down. Sometimes, you know, just speaking it, though, at this point isn't enough, because you do need a spiritual cleanse. I mean, but by cleanse, even though I see a shower, you can, you know, do like a salt rinse or a bath, a spiritual black bath. You could do some research and put like what you might like. I feel like you already have a routine, but you just haven't done it in a while. So this is the heads up. Hey, this loop that you've been in, that you've been feeling like you need to self-soothe, and you've been feeling like you need to repair yourself, and that is not you. What you need is a cleanse, because that is negative energy that is trying to bond itself to you. So it's not your energy. So this was just kind of like that wake up to just let you know. And compassion is here. Have compassion for yourself. Like I was saying, you know, not being so hard on yourself, and recognizing when this is not your energy and you do need to detox, because there is negative energy on you. So there can be, I thought food also, I didn't say that. When I saw soothe in reverse, although it's like herbal tea, but when I saw I heard self-soothing, and I immediately thought of like eating a lot of junk food. That was something that I saw with that. So and then it was saying you need to cleanse. So just not only the spiritual cleanse, but for expansion, having that need to detox. They're giving you guidance on this. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So having that you're needing to detox. So I do feel that this is something having to do with what you've been eating, but also with your spirit. So like I'm hearing salt bath. So I think it's really that simple. You don't have to do a whole bunch of concoctions. Pray over your water. and ask for protection and to recenter your energy. That this is guidance for you. I was going to pull tarot, but I honestly feel that that's it. This was guidance for you to calm down because you've been in this loop, to calm down, to have compassion for yourself because you've been hard on yourself, and it's coming off as a lack of self-love, although your intent was loving that old distorted version of yourself and wishing that you could have done more for her, but you did. So it's having that compassion and bringing awareness back into, you know, the amazing person that you are and what you've come through, and that not just anybody can get through that. That unfortunately many people do not get through even less. Geez, even like 20% of what you've gone through, most people can't get through. This is for clarity on what's exactly happening right now. It's for you to address this from a calm place, a place of compassion and awareness that this is you're under attack. It's a lot more subtle. You're a lot more equipped for handling it than you were when you were in that distorted energy. And it's just to refocus. Refocus on what you already know by doing the cleanses that you can do for your body and for your spirit and for your expansion to continue on the path that it has been on. Okay? Thanks. Bye.